Are you ready to take your organization to the next level and become a game changer in your industry? Then look no further. Welcome to Yokai Business Show, where we bring you the world's top business thought leaders to share their secrets to success, from leadership development to finance, marketing, self-development, human resource management, and much, much more. Our guests reveal the strategies, tactics, and mindsets that have made them so successful. So let's dive in and learn from the best in the business. Hello, and welcome to the greatest show on planet Earth. I love to say that. Thanks again for joining us here on the Business Show. We truly honor you and love having you here. And thank you. There's so much happening in the community, and you are part of that community, spreading the word out there. Truly appreciate you. And today, we have another special guest, and we are going to find out how our guests got started, some of the things that they did, and perhaps, in fact, I'll tell you the reason why we take time to talk about how others got started, what are their success, because we can learn from other people's failures, you know that, and we can also learn from other people's success. We can also learn about other people's stumbling blocks or those blockages along the way. So we are going to have a great time. Now, before I introduce our guests here today, I want to encourage you, if you're not yet already part of our community, you need to become part of the community. It's very easy. There is a link below this recording that you just click and you'll be taken straight to the community. And once you are in there, don't be an spectator. Be a participant. Ask questions. Talk about what's working for you. If you've got any questions that you need help with, ask. We are on the same ship. We want to do the same things. We all want to succeed. We all want to do very well. We all want to contribute. We all want to be loved. Let's go and make it happen in there. Well, enough of that. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I know there's a few people that don't know your background, or your education or your experience in this area. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what you've done, some of the people you've helped, and why our conversation here is relevant? And perhaps you could just add in there the last one, were you an overnight success? If not, what is it that you did that has kept you on the path, for you to become the exceptional success that you are today?
Of course, Yokai. Thank you so much for having me. First off, it is an honor to be here, and I'm extremely excited just to connect with you, connect with your audience, and share a little bit of knowledge, maybe some helpful knowledge along the way. So my background, I started my first company in my parents' garage. So I have a parents' garage story with my brother when I was 17. So my brother and I, we've been really good friends. We've worked together really well our entire lives. He's an older brother, started a business building custom furniture. So I was in a math class my senior year of high school. Our math teacher, that instructor, was looking at breakfast room tables one morning, and she was showing me designs for what she enjoyed, what she was looking at, what she wanted to buy. And I started laughing at her because she was showing me these pieces of furniture that she wanted to buy for ridiculous prices. Now, I guess to back up just a little bit, my family has grown up, we've always fixed any problems that we've always had at the house. We're a very handy group of people, especially now, which will make sense, is my brother is a home builder and general contractor. So when I saw this table that she wanted made, I started laughing because it looked so easy. It's stuff that we had built before, and I told her, don't buy that table. We can build it for you. I'll build it for you for $100 in material instead of the $2,000 that you might have spent. So I got my brother to help me building that table. We delivered it to her. And then right as we got together and finished up with that table, we kind of looked at each other and had a light bulb moment that if other people are able to do this, we clearly have the skill set. We just did it. why don't we get started and do something on our own? So we launched this custom furniture company, Hedrick Custom Designs, when I was 17. My older brother was, I guess, 19 at the time. He's an older brother. And we just hit the ground running. He overlooked design, fabrication, the building of the furniture, and I helped on the sales, the marketing, the business side of getting everything running. So that was my first step into the entrepreneurship world. We ran that for about 2.5 to 3 years, so not too long, but it was really, to be completely honest, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that aspect of entrepreneurship of not having too much to worry about. I was going into university, going into college, and it wasn't I had to have a certain amount of income or I wouldn't eat situation. It was a lot more low pressure, so it was much easier to learn and figure out the fundamental steps that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have issues getting into, of even the basic stuff of how do you file business taxes? How do you get an LLC? How do you do any accounting that you need to do, the certain quote unquote easier steps that seem to be very complex and are very complex for no reason. So we ran that for 2.5 to 3 years. I went off to university, and then my brother went off. He was finishing up college as well at another college. So we weren't close together in relativity. We were far away from our home base at our parents' garage. So it was difficult to build the furniture. So we decided to shut that down and move on to our next things. So I ended up going and getting my real estate license while I was in college. I was a sophomore at the time, and I went and got my real estate license and then eventually started my own firm. So the real estate section of my life took up almost 3.5 to 4 years, my entire length of college, really. So it was a really interesting introduction into the world of entrepreneurship, and I really loved it. I thought that it was an excellent introduction. It's kind of a low barrier to entry, and especially anything sales related really worked well for me, and it was exciting. So I had scaled that business, my own personal sales and brokerage, from my first sale, I remember vividly, was an $87,000 condo here in outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and eventually scaled. We had, I think the highest home that I sold was just under 1.2 million, and we had a good listing under 1.9 million that we didn't end up selling, but it was awesome. It was awesome, and it was a great learning experience, especially just because on the sales side of learning how to interact with people, learning how to work well with different kinds of people in all different kinds of situations. And then most importantly, I think that the productivity and time management aspect of being a college student and also running a business, I really learned a lot on how I can schedule my days to get the most out of them, how to focus on remembering what needs to get done, what deadlines are set, and everything that needs to get completed was really, really eye-opening. So it was an excellent learning experience and a great way to get into the more intense entrepreneurship world. So as soon as I graduated from college, I decided I'm going to follow a dream of mine and move to New York City. I had always wanted to do real estate there since I had gotten into the business at that time. That would have been 3 or 4 years ago. And it had always been something that I wanted to do. If you're going to do real estate, those are the most expensive homes. They're the largest, the coolest. And really, I mean, New York City is one of those places that everyone looks up to and wants to live in, or at least spend some time there at some point in their lives. So I packed my bags. I moved up just a few weeks after my graduation, and I left everything behind. I left all of my friends and my family, all of my business here from my past real estate career in North Carolina, and then I moved. And I was super excited, super optimistic, and really looking forward to a change of pace, to living in this amazing city, and to see what there is out there to behold. And as soon as I got there, long story short, it was not for me. The real estate business was much different up there than what it was in North Carolina. The way that people work, the environment was much different. I mean, especially I grew up in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina, surrounded by a ton of trees. So when I was dropped in the middle of Manhattan, I vividly remember in my mornings, I would wake up and go and run in Central Park just so I could see a little bit of greenery, a little bit of foliage, some trees. So it would be a change of pace. And then with that as well, New York City wasn't for me. And then I was starting to have second thoughts as to whether real estate was really what I wanted to do. I had enjoyed it, but I kind of had this feeling that my time was up. There wasn't too much growth I thought that I could do. Yes, I could forever sell more expensive homes and more expensive homes and more expensive homes, but I didn't think that that's what my life's potential and legacy should be spent on. So after a long time of thinking and really trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I ultimately decided I'm going to at least take one step in the right direction. I'm going to call it quits on New York City and move back to my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, and just restart, kind of figure out what it is that I truly want to do and where I truly want to go. And so that lands to where I am today. So after I moved back from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina, I gave myself time just to think, to figure out what I wanted to do, what my true interests are. And I would say this is probably one of the best decisions that I have ever made, because if I was in a rush, if I really tried to get this process done and not take time to reflect on my personal interest, what I wanted to do, what I thought that I could create a true legacy doing, I wouldn't have ended up with being where I am today and starting in the nonprofit space. So once that time is up, I had really spent a lot of time thinking and reflecting, and this recurring idea just kept coming up of starting a nonprofit. I knew that I wanted to start another business. I had been in the entrepreneurship world for 7 years now, running my own businesses and doing things like that. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know the business yet. So eventually, once I started funneling that down and figuring out what it was that I wanted to do, and I knew that I wanted to start a nonprofit, it really all started to come together. And so that's where I am today as the founder and executive director of the Hedrick Project. Just a little overview. Our mission is to better animal, human, and environmental life globally. And we do 3 things differently. First, we are a media-based organization. So this means that we have partners in the field that help us with our work. So with that, 100% of donations that we raise from the public go directly to our partners in the field. I'm a firm believer in helping others, in other organizations, and the amazing work that so many people are already doing out in the world. There's no reason for us to increase competition, to make it more difficult to be getting donations. So I really wanted to create something that could help other nonprofits on their mission. So that's one thing that we do differently. The second thing that we do differently is we really help customize the process of donating for our donors. So we are project-based, meaning that, Yokai, if you go on our website right now, you can pick and choose exactly where you want your donations to go. If you are a sea turtle lover, we have a sea turtle conservation project that you can donate all the money in the world that you would like to, and 100% of that goes directly to our partners in the field, a sea turtle hospital in Wilmington, North Carolina. But if you are like the vast majority of our donors and want to distribute your funds across all of our projects, you can. We have a tool, a fund called the Collective, and that is where over 95% of our donations have gone and people have chosen to donate towards, because they love all of our projects and they just want a better animal, human, and environmental life globally. And then the third thing that we do differently is we follow up with our donors. I really hated this disconnect of you send money off to a nonprofit, and the only time that you ever hear from them again is a phone call asking for more money. You never really knew where your donation was going, if it really was making a difference. So we have developed on our website the Impact Dashboard. If you go on there, you can see exactly what donations we have sent out so far this year, you can see the 16,666 trees that we've planted. We send follow-up pictures. We report on our impressions and our engagement because remember, we're a media company, so those items matter. So we're doing a ton of things differently, and we're just getting started. This is a new project, and we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, but it really has been an amazing experience. And I'll get into some of the advice items later, and I know that we will talk about it. But I would say one of the most important and most enlightening things for upcoming entrepreneurs or very well established entrepreneurs is that I take the time to reflect on your true interest, things that really matter to you. Because we hear it all the time in business school from just amazing established business owners, entrepreneurs, even executives saying that unless you truly know and can find your passion, it's very hard and very difficult for businesses to succeed. I'm not saying that you can't, but it definitely helps when you are super passionate to throw the covers off in the morning and get out of bed early and stay up late as night, because I know so many people listening to this podcast already are having to do that with the businesses that they own, but it truly does make a difference when you're doing something that you truly love. And so I know you had mentioned the quick question of an overnight success. I wouldn't say that we have even dropped a drop in the bucket to what we're going to do with the Hedrick project, but I do think that we have made a ton of progress in this first year, and I'm really proud of what we've done. And I think if you were to look at it from the outside, if you just started the clock in this last year for my success, it really would look pretty sped up. But my response to that question always is there was 7 years of hiccups and learning and a business degree that had gone into me being able to launch this and build the connections already that I had for so much time beforehand. So no such thing as an overnight success. I firmly believe in that. I do believe especially that there's some luck and some good connections that you can make that can really amplify and explode your business, whatever it is, at the right time. But you've got to be hitting a lot of balls and keeping a lot of things moving to be able to have those home runs happen.
Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Love that. I appreciate what you just shared there because, I can see myself in there and in some of those things. In fact, I don't know, maybe it's just me, in talking to so many people, I find that there is some similarities in what all of us as entrepreneur business owners go through. And this, again, helps anybody who's coming into our world to find out that whatever they're going through is not quite unique to them. It happens to all of us. It's a journey that we all go through. Let's talk about some of the roadblocks that you had to face earlier on and how you overcame them.
Roadblock wise, I think that the best example of this is real estate and the transaction process. We constantly tell other agents that there is no such thing as a smooth transaction. Yokai, if you're going to go and buy a home, that's one of the first things that I would have told you, and especially just to set that expectation, because I cannot think of issues that, there were so many things that had come up during any transaction. From you would find termites in a basement, there would be lending issues going on, something would have happened with another showing. Anything and everything could possibly pop up. And these roadblocks would happen nonstop. There was nothing that you could do to prevent them, nothing that really anyone could have warned or predicted or anything. And so I always share that with anyone in the entrepreneurship space, just because the lesson here is the lesson that I know, again, that so many people hear all the time, of failure being a learning opportunity, but not even just that it's a learning opportunity, but it is something that's going to happen. And I think that a lot of people, myself included, want really, really smooth seas to go out and sail on. They want to have no issues pop up or nothing happen at all. But I always know nowadays that, A, that's impossible, and roadblocks are always going to pop up. But I would almost say to look at roadblocks as a step going in the right direction. I think that that means if you're facing roadblocks, you're putting yourself out there, you're being able to overcome objectives that are happening, and they will just constantly happen. So don't get discouraged and don't have them interrupt the progress that you're making.
Awesome. And did you have any tools or resources that you used earlier on in this area?
The best tools and resources, no matter what, are people. And I will constantly harp and always say that I am the most average person I know. I'm not extremely smart. There's nothing amazing, I think, going on that makes me special. What I think my one talent is being able to work with people, being able to have the courage to ask questions from people that are way smarter than me and that know their field inside and out. Especially the advice I always give is accountants and attorneys are your best friend. Don't try and interrupt their work. They know 10,000 times more than I would ever know. So the tools and resources, hands down, that I would recommend to anyone, past entrepreneurs or past business owners that are working in a field that you're interested in, they've already had to do exactly what you're going through. And then, even if they aren't business owners or entrepreneurs, there is always something you can learn from anyone. There's always someone that has had an experience that you haven't had. And opening up this form of communication and this open window to just talk about things that are going on is the best resource that I have ever had and the best advice, honestly, that I could give anyone.
I think I know the answer to my next question here, but for the benefit of everybody listening, especially my dear friend Bill over there, uh, Bill, don't worry. I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot there, brother. But uh, let's just dive deep. Did you have any early mentors, or did you figure out all this by yourself?
Well, you answered your question, and we just kind of mentioned it before with the last answer, but of course, I mean, too many to count and too many names to mention. The first thing I did when starting this nonprofit is I formed a board of directors of the 7 most talented people that I know in their respected areas that are there to advise me and have a built-in follow-up and advisory structure to help me along the way. But again, I mean, there are too many people to mention. And I think, again, what I'd like to mention to everyone is that they don't have to be amazing CEOs of these massive companies to be a good mentor. There are smarter people than you would ever know just sitting at your local coffee shop and talking about anything to anyone. So I would say building conversations with anyone that you can. There's always something to learn. And especially in today's world, an early mentor that I would recommend is YouTube and Google. I think that there are so many questions and there's so much advice out there that it's almost difficult to know what to follow and who to think about and what direction to go in. But especially in the early stages, I would definitely check out what you can on starting businesses online. I mean, look at this podcast. This is an excellent example.
I thought you would say that because I personally had both. I had the mentors, which I'm so grateful. Some of them are now my friends at this stage. And the funny thing is, I'm also their mentor on certain aspects of things. So it's a funny world that we live in because they mentor me on one aspect of business, and I mentor them now on another aspect of business because you cannot know everything in the world of business. That's why you need mentors, you need advisors, all people who have got different expertise. So I love what you've just shared there. And also, I had to discover certain things myself. You just have to go in there and you know that, okay, this works and this doesn't. So a combination of the two has worked specifically for me. Let's talk about your first major breakthrough in this area. How did it come about and what did it do for you in your own belief about your abilities and perhaps in this concept?
Of course. So our first major breakthrough, I would say, was our first major donation that had come in. And Donations, of course, were already flowing in, but once you get something that is a little bit larger, it really solidifies what you're doing. And it really shows off that people believe in you and people are excited. And unfortunately, I wish that we had a ton of major donations coming in all the time. We all do, all nonprofits do. But especially in these early stages, of course, I mean, early stages of anything, they don't flow in super easily, as you know. Um, but I think that any breakthrough with any startup or any business that I have had always just comes at the right time and is really helpful in saying we're doing the right thing, we're going down the right path. Now we just need to continue what we're doing, not make any crazy changes, but just continue with what you're doing.
So, how long did it take you to get to where you are today?
Well, I would say, I mean, it's been a 7-year journey of me running my own businesses, but I mean, you could say my entire life. I think that you learn so much from other people, just how to treat people and how to work with people, how to network, how to communicate. Again, I think that that is my best skill, is being able to work well with people and communicate well with people. And that's something that you have been learning and adopting your entire life.
I've discovered that people understand certain concepts through stories. And I'm wondering, is there any one particular story or example you would like to share that really sums up your early experience in this area?
I would say during our early days, one of the best stories that always sticks out to me is the launch of our Getting Started campaign. So 2 months after the launch of our nonprofit, I popped up my camera in my bedroom and filmed a quick campaign video saying, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we're going to do, and just showing off my hopes and dreams for the Hedrick project. And so this video, which I do not know, I don't know if it's still up today, very poor quality, as anything in the early years. Nothing too fantastic, nothing that's going to catch anyone's eye. But either way, what's amazing and is an excellent example of the early years is we submitted this video out to our followers, our little followers that I had, sent it out to my friends and family. And for 2 or 3 days, we just had constant donations coming in from people that had saw the video, they believed in us, they wanted to join us on our mission. And then after those 3 days are up, it's just silence. And so I think that the stories, no matter what, of the early years and just entrepreneurship in general, is this up and down, this roller coaster of really high highs and really low lows. You make a ton of progress, you do amazing, you get whatever sales goal you want to hit, whatever donation goal, in my example, that you want to hit, and then things can start to go downhill, and it's constantly unpredictable. And I would say that that is the best story from the early years, just because you never know what to expect. And I think that every entrepreneur and every business owner, every person in general, is on their own journey and they should work at their own pace, but know that it's just so unpredictable. Life in general is just so unpredictable, and you never know what can happen. You can have really good days, really bad days, but you can't have highs without the lows, and vice versa.
Indeed. I'm just wondering, how is the world in this area different now than when you got started? Because I can imagine that things are quite different from when you started back then.
Of course, and I mean the obvious answer first off is that we can be and live in a digital world. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. We're filming this podcast between two screens. So I really think that that is the first big difference of the world in general. We can communicate much better through screens. We can operate, I mean, entire businesses without needing a brick and mortar location. So that is the first obvious answer. But I think the not so obvious answer and thing that I've noticed is how excited people are for entrepreneurship. I mean, there are so many people and so many conversations that I constantly have with people that want to start a business, they want to get into the entrepreneurship world. And I think the big difference here is that people are really taking these steps and It's not all talk. And that's what really excites me. There are people really being able to grow their business, really being able to start that side hustle, start whatever it is that they want to do. And I would say that that's the biggest difference. And that is amazing. I'm so excited for people and everything that they're accomplishing.
Mm. I'm curious, if you had to start all over again in this area, in today's world, with today's tools, time constraints, which we all have, and other factors, what would you do perhaps differently, more of, or perhaps even less of, or maybe faster? What would you do different? Or maybe you would not do at all. I'm curious if you could help us maybe paint a better picture of what we can expect now.
The first thing that I would say is I really wish that I had spent a lot more time networking and connecting with people in my early years. When I was running that furniture company, we kept mainly to ourselves, I would say, and I wish that I didn't. I wish that I was out having more coffees, having more dinners, lunches, whatever it may be, meeting with people. Because so many relationships that I have built over the last 5 years, I've come back and have utilized and have stayed in touch. And it's been really, really helpful. And then the second thing, and again, advice that I tell everyone is I would have definitely right out of the gate started building up my team of accountants, attorneys, mentors, people that I can have slated to come back and help me along the way, just to have a more formal connection there to answer any questions that I have. Because, especially for me, I know that law and accounting can be very intimidating and something that you don't want to get in trouble with. So, having that confidence and knowing that we're doing the right thing at all times would be something that just would have taken some relief off of my shoulders. But other than that, I don't think I would change much. I think that it has been a massive learning experience, and I've learned so much over the years, and I know that I'm going to learn so much for the rest of my life. So that's why I wouldn't change much. You have to make mistakes to be able to learn, and you have to constantly be willing to change what you're doing. So I wouldn't change too much, but those would be those few items, if anything.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And in your opinion, where should people like me, business owners, focus their efforts if they want to succeed in both the short term and the long term?
People, 100%. And I keep coming back to people, but there is no aspect of business that people and treating people well, working well with people, communicating is not the right answer. If you want to succeed in the short term, building up sales and having conversations, you need to be having meetings and connecting with people and networking in that aspect. If you want to succeed in the long term, any short term advice is good, but listening to your customers, taking care of your customers, just spending time with people, learning from them, having the humility to know that there is so much to learn from other people. Again, I think that doing whatever you can to take care of people is never a waste of time or money.
Awesome. I'm a great believer in tools, be it online or offline, to help speed the whole thing. In uh, your experience or in your professional expertise, what sort of tools would you recommend that business owners like me needs to use, or perhaps just know about?
Yeah, so the tools that I use on a daily basis are Notion to keep my life in order. It's just an easy way to organize so much stuff. My calendar app, just Apple Calendar, nothing crazy, but I segment my life off in there. I mean, I've got to the 30-minute segment from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. pretty much blocked off every single day of exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, who I need to communicate with, everything like that. Google Drive, anything in the Google space is what I always use to keep documents, to keep everything in order. But other than that, those are my main tools. I would say it does depend somewhat on your business, but those three, I think that you could really solve a lot of problems and really help clean up your productivity and your work and everything that you're doing.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is incredible. I love those tools. Absolutely wonderful. Now, let's talk about time management, because one of the things that we struggle with as business owners, especially at the level that we are playing on, and I know many of you, our listeners here do the same thing, is having a very good time management. And would you have any tips for time management when it comes to this area?
Yeah. Time management is my thing. I love being able to be organized, and I think that organization is the answer to time management. So, just as I had mentioned earlier, using your calendar, which again, I know that some people are against having your life segmented off into really specific times where you need to be, what you need to be doing. But I think that is the most helpful thing that I could ever recommend to anyone. The tool that I use within my calendar is what I call the C-suite calendar. So, especially for business owners, we wear a bunch of different hats in our day. We might be our CEO, we might be a CFO working on finance, we might be a CTO 30 minutes later working on whatever tech problems that we're having. So, I put all of those items into my calendar. So, from 8 to 11 a.m., for example, I'll block off something and say, I need to be working on my customer acquisition, working on sales, calling people, trying to get more leads coming in, more potential donors for that's our example that we always use. And then the next hour I'll have blocked off in my calendar to solve a problem that we're having with our website. Let's say a form isn't working and we're not able to generate leads on there. So doing this really helps me know when I sit down at my desk what I need to be doing, how long I should be dedicated to that problem, and it really doesn't allow too much time for procrastination. And you just have to commit to what you put in your calendar is what you're going to be doing. And so that would be my best recommendation, just because you can mess with it as to what works really well for you. I mean, especially even just blocking off time for downtime. I mean, that I always try and incorporate just so I can have a little bit of time away from work, a break, anything like that. I would say for our listeners, that would be the best thing and the best advice that I could give them.
Where would you get perhaps news or updates about this area that Bill in our audience and anybody listening that you perhaps trust, or the people you trust that we can put in our black book, so to speak? Everybody knows about the black book that we have here. In your experience, where would you get your updates in this area and the news of what is happening in this world?
What I always recommend for news would be to find a source, whatever it is that works for you. If you want to receive your news via email, that's going to be different. If you want to watch your news on the TV, that's going to be different. If you want to search it on your computer, that's going to be a little bit different. So I prefer just to get my news via email. I subscribe to Morning Brew, which I know a lot of people love. And I just get an email every single morning of important news that's going on in the world. That works for me just because it keeps me up to date on general news. And then because at the Hedrick Project, we do so much media based, so much article publishing, so many blogs on current events and things that are going on, we have a variety of publications that we keep up with. So for that, I would recommend people just finding what works for them. Obviously, I'd make sure to double check resources and bias. Unfortunately, that's something that we have to think about today, of getting credible news and knowing where it's coming from. But other than that, I think it's just figuring out what works for you and what you want to consume.
Awesome. Incredible. I'll have to check those ones out. Do you think it's easier today or harder for new business owners like Maria was talking to earlier on today, starting out, than it was for you when you got started? And if it is, why? Or maybe why not? Yes.
I would say it's a mixture of both. There are definitely some things that are easier. Like, for example, you can have a website and to the general public, a company running via whatever website provider, Shopify especially. I know people really love launching e-commerce brands on there in an afternoon. So I would say that technology wise, it's definitely gotten easier and it's easier for people to do items like that. What I think has gotten a little more difficult is that, which for better or for worse, I would say, is that it's definitely becoming more and more saturated. I mean, there's a lot of businesses. It's easier to launch businesses, and it is definitely difficult to stand out. And I think that it's becoming a little bit more expensive and a little bit more difficult to capture attention, especially with social media today. I mean, we're living not even in a 7 second world. We're living in a 2 or 3 second world. And so being able to capture attention, being able to market, being able to advertise, being able to communicate is getting much more difficult. But I would say it doesn't necessarily have to be more expensive. I think that we just have to be thinking out of the box, thinking of higher quality in that aspect. So for better or for worse, I would say it's getting a little bit more difficult in some aspects, but a little bit easier in others.
Awesome. We are just coming toward the end of our time here together, and I always like to ask this question. Probably my listeners have heard me ask this many, many times, and it is: what final thoughts do you have to help motivate business owners to get started or take action right now and move their lives and their business to the next level?
My advice for action always is to write down exactly, if you know, what's holding you back. And I think that as soon as you see what's really holding entrepreneurs, potential business owners, whatever it is, back from their full potential, it's a lot easier than you would imagine. And especially if it is really difficult, if there are massive problems that you know that you're going to face in the future, I would then say the one thing to note, and the thing that I hear all the time, which is really, I think, sad, is that entrepreneurs and business owners are not superhuman. We are constantly forgetting what next steps we need to take. We don't know what next steps we need to take. The difference in between a successful entrepreneur and a business owner is just someone that has the courage to take action, has the ability to understand that you only have to take things one step at a time, and you might not know where you're going or what direction you're heading in. And to be completely honest, it probably will not be the right direction in the beginning. Having this confidence in failing and knowing that you're going to be making forward progress at some point, even if it's going in the wrong direction, and learning from that mistake, I would say that that's the best motivation that I can give people, just because no matter what, we're going to make mistakes. None of us are superhuman. None of us are really special in that aspect. I think that unfortunately there has been this pedestal that entrepreneurs have been put on over these last few years, especially. But really, I would say that you can do whatever it is that you're setting your goals towards. And especially as we were talking early on of legacy and building your legacy and finding something that is really important to you, I'd take some time to find your passion and decide that this is truly what you want to do. And then, man, it'll get a lot easier at that point.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for a great interview. And I know there will be people listening today that would love to connect with you and really get perhaps to explore some of the aspects that we did not manage to talk about in this episode. Where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? Have you got a website, or is it just social media?
Yes, I would say LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is, you can go to linkedin.com/Will Hedrick, send me a message, connect with me. That'd be the easiest way to connect.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What a great conversation we've just had here today. And as we always say, never leave a place of discovering a new concept, idea, or a new way of doing things without scheduling a time when you're going to be implementing that. And the reason we do that is because when you schedule something, it is now known, proven that when it's scheduled, it is going to happen. And again, this is a coaching session. When you find yourself not doing what you had scheduled to do, you may want to find the reason behind not following through, because not following through in that area that thing that is stopping you from following through could be stopping you from following through on other areas of your life that you need to deal with right now. And once you find that reason why, you'll be able to follow through on all areas of your life that you want to achieve. So again, make sure you circle that and do everything you can do. And one of the things that we've put in place to help you make sure you follow through is the community. And I know many of you are already part of the community right now. But if you're not yet a member of the community, can I ask you, just click the link below and you'll be taken to an account where you create your own account. Download the app onto your phone and just dive in and start talking to other people and ask your questions and begin to help other people as well. But for you, ladies and gentlemen, if you need help and assistance, you know what to do. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly, I believe it is truly yet to come. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Yokai Business Show. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode and have gained valuable insights and inspiration from our amazing guest. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review to help us spread the word. Also, be sure to check out our Leadership Ultimate Success Mastermind program, which is designed to help you and leaders in our community to do great things and support each other along their leadership journey. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly yet to come.